People do not know how to date. That's why they come to us.
As a matchmaker, we're here to help you get your wings on.
Let's get some people married. I want you to feel chosen, and I want you to choose. For Muslims, marriage is an act of worship. I'm clocking a baddie.
Are you Muslim and are you single?
Did my mom send you?
Coming off the heels of the popular show Indian Matchmaker is a new duo in town, Muslimas, finally here to help the Ummah find their perfect pair, inshallah. And it's all going down on Hulu February 11th. Yasmin and Hoda are seasoned matchmakers, and they firmly believe in a formula called 300 questions in 3 months. Let's learn all about it. Welcome to Nikah and Chill. So tell us about this 300 question, 3-month matching formula.
Yeah, we've been, I've been matching for, it's crazy to say, 18 years. In the process of matching, I really thought very carefully through what worked and what didn't, because we see a lot of successes, we see a lot of failures.
True.
And I think that learning through that process helps everybody. It actually helps everybody. It helps you to learn through failure. I always say, like, if you're going to fail, fail fast, just like they do in the tech world. They say fail forward. Sometimes you fail back, but
Right.
the hope is that you learn from it and that you can take steps forward to not repeat your same mistakes. Sometimes the universe will keep sending you the same exact problem because you are not solving it. And I've experienced that personally in my own life. And when I was thinking through what was working, I realized that spending too much time sort of in unclear territory, I think, hurts everybody, especially if it's a situationship where the intentions are not clear, you don't really know how you feel. So the attempt through the rules of 3 is to say, give someone 3 opportunities to meet you, then make a decision, yes or no, to move forward to get to know them on a deeper level. And then do that exclusively. Really give focus to that one person. We think that within 3 months, you can determine whether you have an emotional connection with someone or not, whether there's potential for commitment in the future or not. If you feel like, yes, let's talk about commitment timelines, then at the end of those 3 months, we want you to think about, can friends and family meet at least 3 times before we decide to commit? Why we give this formula is a hope that people will see someone at every stage of a relationship, when they're excited and when they're really very impatient, when they're super happy, and when they may be crushed by something. The 300 questions, they follow into 12 categories to follow basically 12 weeks.
Mm.
And the hope is that every week you tackle a set of questions that may not necessarily come up unless you were directed to bring them up.
Right.
And they're an attempt to say, hey, like, clear the minefields here. Are there any mines that are going to go off? Are there any big things that you should set off to talk? I mean, some people run away from conflict. We want you to get into conflict, not necessarily right off the bat, but it's okay to have that conflict because relationships are full of respecting each other's differences, but having real differences and working through them. So that's kind of our philosophy. We want people to date with intention. We want people to meet each other with the intention of marriage. And so we believe the 3 meetings, 300 questions over 3 months is the right way to do that, to then discuss the next chapter of real, true commitment.
Wow.
100%. 100%. I love that. I really do appreciate that because I think a big thing, and this is a general thing, but like a big thing that is missing is that deliberateness, that kind of sincerity in the process. A big thing that we get from the West that shouldn't apply to us is don't move too fast.
Yeah.
As if marriage is some kind of long-term,
Be afraid of
it's
it.
yeah, be afraid of it and be afraid to kind of decide as well. That like
Yeah.
really the idea of commitment, or are you commitment phobe? These ideas of like, if you believe in marriage, then you believe in commitment by default. You believe in supporting
Right.
someone, subhanAllah. So having that deeper understanding of what marriage is, so then you're not afraid when these real questions are being asked. Like, oh, it's too
Right.
early for that. How can it be too
Right.
early if you're looking for your life partner,
You're
right?
looking for
So
something
Yes.
meaningful. Absolutely. That's really where our jobs as matchmakers kind of came into play, in the sense that, we're Muslims in the West, a lot of us first generation, and the system that we live in, the dating culture, isn't really for us. And then kind of the courting and the dating culture that maybe our parents went through, our grandparents went through, doesn't really quite fit for us either. And so we found ourselves in the middle of this, like, well, what do we do? How do we do this? And that's really what like our life's mission is how do we make this better for our community? How do we make this better for the people who are going through the process the way we went through and are going through it? And I think the work there actually never ends because as we see, society kind of throws a new thing at you every day.
Right.
You know, before you were meeting like at MSA, now you're meeting on Minder and Muzmatch. And so it really changed. The culture of dating is changing just literally yearly. And that's where we come in is just helping our people navigate this and rise to the challenge and rise to the occasion of making a meaningful connection with somebody and finding that lifelong partner.
To what Huda said, it's getting that understanding of whether you have a meaningful connection with someone to explore commitment. So it's not that 3 months you're going to get married. It's not at 3 months you're going to go get, nikah and chill. You're not going to go, you're not going to go get engaged, but you're going to talk about when should the families talk to each other? Can I see you around your family? Can I see you around your friends? And a lot of our couples end up getting engaged around the 6-month mark and then married around the year mark. Of course, that's not everyone's timeline is the same, but usually people want to be married within 2 years because
that's
we
kind
think
of the
that
absolute max we would recommend.
max.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. Beyond that, then you just get all the conflict without the commitment. But I've helped mediate divorces because
Sure.
we have to do it with ihsan. We're Muslims. We have to
Right.
do it in excellence. We have to say when something doesn't work, why is there a whole chapter in the Quran dedicated to divorce? Because it's a part of our life. And even the Prophet ﷺ, he was a matchmaker. He matched 2 Sahabis. It didn't work out. It didn't work out. They divorced, not because they either were bad people. They weren't
Right.
bad. They were simply not a good fit.
Sure.
But I was wondering, how did you guys, I'm sure you've met other matchmakers, how did it make sense for you to pair together? And why not a male and a woman also?
There's not a lot of guy matchmakers. Yeah,
there's not a lot of guy matchmakers. Okay.
Yeah, I also just think me as a woman and thinking of my female clients, I don't think they would be so comfortable having these discussions with like a guy. I wouldn't like want to like divulge all of my wants and my struggles and difficulties with a guy. I find it a little interesting, but I can see that being beneficial for the guy's perspective and having that perspective, a male perspective in general. How did we come together? It just happened. We didn't seek this out, and I don't think we knew that when we met each other, we were going to be on this journey together. Like, subhanAllah, it was just like written for us to meet each other and to instantly hit it off and to just like work in the same way. Like this rules of 3, like we both individually like we're applying this to our clients and to our lives, and we came together and we're like, wait, that's how I do it, and that's what I tell my clients. And like subhanAllah, it was just like a sync that came out of nowhere.
Wow. Yeah, and we met at a wedding.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was doing some matchmaking on the side at the wedding because that's what I do, because it's fertile ground.
Absolutely.
It's green
like for weddings are prime time single.
Yeah, everybody looking their best, So that's when I met her, and I immediately was drawn to her. I thought she had a really good heart and was well intended, and we started working with each other soon after.
Okay, so how many applicants? Was it hard to cast men and women? How many applicants? And like, you don't even have to tell me how many, but how was the casting and how did you come up with your top, what was it, 11, 12? How many couples or singles?
Was it like 8-ish couples, I want to say? Yeah.
It was 8.
Yasmin and I differ on this question. We got asked this question before and we differ a little bit. I think as far as like the pool of people we had to sort of sift through, it was more than you would think. Like because the show had been done, Smriti Mundra had done Indian matchmaking, I think that really opened up people's mind to the possibility of like putting themselves on this sort of platform. So we had actually a lot of people interested. Obviously, to land on the people that were actually going to be on the show is a different story. For a lot of reasons, we had things in mind that we wanted. We wanted to capture diversity. We wanted to capture just a spectrum of religiosity, things like that. And so we also had to be able to make a match. So whenever we found somebody, we were like, really interested in setting up, we had to make sure we also found somebody for them that was also interested in being on the show. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably where it got more challenging. And Yasmin, I know you have thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to be vulnerable like that on a first time show for Muslims.
Totally.
And I think that a lot of people view the whole, I would say, especially men, Muslim men, don't love to put their stuff out there in general. And they don't want to sort of, I think, be on a vulnerable wavelength and
Sure.
open up about what kind of girl they want. It's so hard to even get them to trust me to be like, you have a type. They have a
Mm-hmm.
really hard time saying they have a type. So many men have a type and they're just not admitting it. And they'll
Sure.
say no for all sorts of reasons. And you're just like, all right,
Let
can
me
you tell
know.
me what you're, yeah, it's like, what are
What
you
do you
into?
really want? I know you have thoughts. Just share.
Right.
Exactly.
And I know you're
Exactly.
talking to the brothers about it because that's the thing. I feel
Yes.
like the conversations I've had with other men around marriage, it's very transparent. It's very clear. SubhanAllah. But yeah, I think there is this stigma
What do you
around being
mean by
honest about
that? Tell us more.
that.
What are you not saying?
I just mean like we keep it real. You know what I mean? I'll use an example is like a lot of brothers will say stuff, and this is when to me I'm like, whenever I've heard this, and I have no matchmaking knowledge or experience, and that's not changing it. But whenever someone says like, I'm less concerned about physical attraction, I just want a religious sister, I'm like, brother, that's a lie. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's okay to find someone attractive. Like that's one of the reasons Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that we should be getting married. Be
Right.
honest about that. Like, of course your standards have to be realistic. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you need to be clear about what they are and own that and be willing to like pursue that, inshallah. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not
if
the
you're not
only
honest,
quality, but be honest. Yeah.
if you're not honest about what you want, you won't end up with the right partner. You might get
Right.
married, but will they be the right partner? Probably not, because if you're not honest with yourself, then you're definitely not honest with us as your matchmaker, and you're probably as a result not honest with whoever your partner is either.
Yeah.
So
That's
really,
essential.
and I really think that the process of casting is complicated because the kind of person that's signing up to find love on screen is already going to sometimes be an outlier in our community.
Right.
But what I really loved about the casting is that we kind of didn't stop until we tried to get the right match. And so the whole process took years to do. This did not
Wow.
happen overnight.
Wow.
Wow.
This didn't happen overnight. This was not an easy, breezy process. It took a lot of time
We
and a
first
lot of consideration.
conceptualized the Muslim matchmaking show, like the idea of having a Muslim matchmaking show in 2020. So it's now coming out in 2025, 5 years to get it from
Yes.
like we conceptualize it to it's finally going to be on TV.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know just being here in LA and working with different, knowing different Muslim producers and actors, the idea has always been great, but it's always come down to men too, women as well, but getting men, like you said, that are attractive or that are great for TV, that are gonna be comfortable on TV. So trust and believe when I saw this, we're like, Yarab, just, thank you so much, because it's hard to get the cast to come together, even with the trailer. Excellent trailer. We see ourselves in it, finding the people where we see ourselves, because to be representing Muslims, already your position is going to be difficult. And then
Right.
having to show that DEI, right? The diversity and that sort of thing. So,
And this isn't just for matchmaking, but just for anyone looking for marriage. Like, what is a quality or what is a personality trait, whatever it may be, that someone has that is going to make getting married very difficult? Like, what did you find as far as an attitude or a perspective? You know what I'm saying? That would really make matchmaking really difficult.
Um, two things that are kind of go hand in hand that I notice with all of my clients is one being inflexible in your mindset. People that aren't willing to be open-minded to what might work for them, people that kind of feel like, no, I know what is going to be best for me, even though they've tried that same approach or tried that same thing over and over and over again and haven't had success, yet still kind of being committed to that. I can tell instantly in a conversation I have with somebody whether they're open to true guidance in the process of, finding a spouse or not. And if they're not open to that true guidance, it's already almost a lost cause as far as working with me. Not because, they're a terrible person or whatever, but it's just they already planted something in their mind of like, I don't really need help with this. I know what I'm doing, and it's sort of like just putting your foot in your mouth, you know, you get in your own way that way. So just not being flexible in mindset and not being open to like guidance on the process as a whole.
Yeah, and I would add to those very excellent points. I think someone who is someone who doesn't have a lot of relationship experience and acts like they do kills me. You know, they're
Right.
just like, they don't even know how it is to be in a relationship, and they're like, oh, I know I can't be with someone like this, and you know, I ain't even gonna deal with somebody divorced, and they just
Mhm.
have all these like preconceived ideas
Yeah.
with zero experience. It kills me to watch because it's
Especially
just
like
like,
the older like people, because I'm 34, and you know most of the men my age have either already been married, have kids, they're kind of stuck in their ways. They're like, if it doesn't feel comfortable, then I'm just going to give up. And we are in a Western society where it's like it's okay to be single. It's actually more easier, it's actually more fun. So
yeah.
not realizing that it was never going to be easy. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten ghosted and I'm like, we had such compatibility. This is immature. There's no reason that you should have run from the uncomfortability of it. Like, it's unbelievable. Plus add LA on top of it and it sucks.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, the commitment phobia is a really big problem because people don't want to adult. They don't want to actually have, I don't know, I think like deep disagreements. They run from them. They think, oh, I'm gonna take the easy way out. I think if you have the mindset that you want the easiest path of least resistance,
Marriage is not easy. Like
it's not.
definitely not.
It's
Right.
not, and it's
Right.
gonna, but it's also beautiful, right? It's difficult and gorgeous. It's partnership and testing. It's raising kids and having legacy, but it's also being full of disagreements on,
Right.
you know, on how to raise them or what to do with family. And that's life. You know, Toni Morrison said it beautifully. She said that's the grandness of life. You know, it would, if it was easy, then it wouldn't be interesting, you know. And she says that being good and going towards the good, because we have the fitra, the idea of the fitra for us, right? That we have an internal goodness. She said being good is interesting. It's layered. It's like striving to do that, because being evil is so boring. I love the
SubhanAllah.
way she said it's so boring. It's so
Yeah.
predictable, you know. And she's just one of my absolute favorites.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and I think about that a lot. The Bluest Eye is my favorite book of all time. That book changed my life when I read the book.
Cool.
Yeah, it's by Toni. It's by Toni Morrison. But anyway, so when she says that, I think about that all the time. Like, life is, when you live it right, it's so deeply layered and complex, and it's disappointing and also enthralling. But you have to be kind of okay with all of it and open to all of it to feel.
Inshallah, by now you've given this a thumbs up and you're ready to subscribe, because this nikah doesn't have to end here. Plus, there's always more ways to chill, like grabbing our exclusive Nikah and Chill merchandise.
Your Ramadan and Me Kids Journal. Featuring Quranic quotes, Ramadan bingo, puzzles, and more.
For ages, buy the enough Greek for friends and family to play every year.
Let's Ramadoo this.